Thank you. Thank you. I was so excited to talk to you and to have you on because your company is amazing. It's fucking awesome. And yes. So
Cute.
I've been, I want to tell you, like, I have so much to talk with you about.
Okay. I'm ready.
So, and
by the way, I have a stop at 3 and I'm sorry for that, but we'll bust through it in an hour.
Yes, we can.
Perfect.
Totally. Or less. I don't want to take up a ton of your time because I know that you're a busy woman, but like this, I wanted to write this piece for my blog because my community has been following along on my skin journey for the past like 4 months. And so I thought how perfect to talk to you and incorporate that into the blog post that I'm about to do.
Yeah.
Because so many people struggle with this. So I want to talk about PD, perioral dermatitis, but I first would love for you to tell me a little bit about your story and your background because it's fascinating and I fucking love it, and feel free to cuss and talk just however you want.
Okay. Awesome. Let's see. So I have like a weirdly twisty road to where I am now. And I guess that's true of most of us, but I grew up in Washington, D.C. and am still the daughter of 2 lawyers. And so I knew I wasn't going to be a lawyer. And so I ended up going to school there. So I went to Georgetown undergrad, and then I kind of like piddled around for a little after undergrad. And I was like, what do I want to do? And I was doing research in cognition and aging. And I realized the days that I looked forward to were the days when the older people would come in and I could like face to face with them and just connect and learn their stories and like just have that feeling of contact in their lives. And so that made me start to think about medical school. I was like, I think I want to be, I don't like to call myself a healer or anything like that, but I think I want to have like a touch in someone's life. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go to medical school. So I did that and I stayed at Georgetown for med school. Almost failed out the first year because I, fell in love with my husband, was so like obsessed and consumed with him. I still am 20 years later. And then I also, I couldn't bring myself to study from old tests. It felt like cheating to me. I was like, well, I should be able to master the material and I'm not going to use the old tests. And then when I went in to see the professors, they're like, no, you have to use the old test to study from. That's like how you do this, because it's such a fire hose of information that the only way to do it is to kind of like just trick yourself into learning it all and trying to retain it. So once I did that, I figured it out and I made it through med school. And then I was in the ER and I was like, this is kind of cool because you get a little of everything. You don't have to commit to one thing, because I would do OB and I'd be like, that was cool, but I don't want to only do OB, and same for peds and same for whatever else. So the ER was like a little of everything. And I always liked that there was someone else to call who was better at it than I am, like I can put people at ease. Yes. And I am like, okay, under pressure, and I am calm and friendly and just like able to connect quickly. But like, I always felt like there was somebody who had my back, at the end of the day. So it seemed like a good role for me. And I did it for 10 years and it was super fun, like great dinner party stories, right? Like,
I'm sure
the things people put in and on their bodies are just startling. But at the end of the day, I felt like, did I make an impact in that person's life that will carry forward? Did I help that person choose his or her own health in the small daily habits that they cultivate for themselves? And the answer was no. And I also was starting to get like a little bit bitchy. Like I was starting to feel frustrated by the patients who felt that I owed them their health. I was like, oh, that's not how this works. I'm not going to work against you on your health. That's Darwinism. And if you want natural selection to happen, go for it. Keep smoking the cigs, and for me, I'm just like, I am so in this with anyone who wants to find health and wants to reclaim their own power to be healthy. But if you're asking me to do it for you, I don't have the time for that. I don't have the time or the energy for that. It is an energy suck. And as you know, if you've ever been with anyone who's had some sort of a health problem that they haven't been willing to commit the time to, there's nothing you can do until they're ready to do that. You're useless anyway. Right. So maybe you could inspire someone to make a change. And that's what I hope that I do, like on Instagram and wherever, that I put time in there, because I'm like, okay, what if this sparks somebody to do a different kind of shop at the grocery store today? Or like, try a different type of yoga, or just sit for 5 minutes and breathe. Great. That's healthcare to me. So it was funny because like making this switch from being an ER doc, and I live in like this tiny mountain town in Colorado, and there's like an ego thing where like when I came here, I was like the only female ER doc, and it's like there was something a little badass about it, and it was super fun. I mean, just interesting work. But then I was like, okay, cut the ego out. Like, how can you truly make a difference in people's days? Like in their everyday thing. And that's when I started. Oh, and then I took a class making soap. And I skipped a big piece. So I had 2 babies, and my second one was 3 months old when my mom died of pancreatic cancer. And so that was a big, perfect storm for me, where I was like super hormony from baby stuff and grief stricken at losing my best friend at such a young age. And that's the kind of thing that makes you uproot your life and like reevaluate everything. You're just like, what am I doing? Do I want to do this way? So that's when I took a class making soap. And then I was like, oh my God, I want to make soap for the rest of my life. That was the reaction. So that was a long-winded answer to your question.
Yeah. I think it's so badass that I just love your story, because fuck yeah, like just changing course of your career at that time. I mean, I think you're right. It does, when big stuff happens to us and emotional stuff, it does make us think like, okay, what am I doing with my life? What do I want to do? Where am I going? And I think but not everybody actually does it.
Well, and I'm not one of these people who's like, just follow your dreams and everything. No, I have a husband we sat down, like I came home and I was like, so I don't want to be a doctor anymore. I want to make soap. And of course that expanded into like a ton of research about the health impact of what we're using on our skin, and like all the ways in which I could try to educate people about stuff that just isn't mainstream knowledge. Like I know so much about sodium lauryl and sodium lauryl sulfate now, and I know you do too, because you have PD, but like nobody knows that. I check in with people who've read all of our blogs and all of our documents about PD, and they're like, no, I'm using Tide Free and Clear. And I'm like, so it's like repetition and trying to get that information out there in a mainstream kind of way. And when I realized I could do that with the company, sorry, forgot about the phone. When I realized that I could do that with the company, then I came home to my husband and I was like, I think I want to do this. And I can't do the 1 foot, because like for a couple of years I was at a friend's house, like in a room that we called the meth lab. And I just was like learning how to make stuff and experiment. And then I was working shifts and I'm nursing babies. And I was like, I'm spread too thin to be like effective in any direction. So when I told him, it was a choice we made together, right? He was like, okay, we will invest in the company. So like our initial capital, he's the only financial investor we've had so far.
Nice.
And it's a decision that we made together. So you have to put food on the table. And so it's not always practical to jump ship and leave one hard-earned career to pursue a dream elsewhere, but it's worth considering if it's possible.
I love that. Very pragmatic. And you're right. I mean, I did the same thing. I was like, screw this direction. I'm doing something else. And the same thing with my wife and I. Our company is self-funded and we haven't taken funding from anybody. And it's like, but you're right. It has to be thought out, and because it doesn't always work. But I have to say, selfishly, I am very, very happy that you chose to do what you're doing, because I have to say, I mean, when I found your blog and your products, and not just your products, but the information that you share on your website, and the level of care that your team gives to people who just stumble upon you, it's like I felt so supported in my journey. And it was just, I mean, that's what changed the game for me. So here's a little backstory about like my story. And so I run a whole food plant-based business. I've always had really clear skin, you know, I mean, even when I was like a crazy drinker and smoker and was unhealthy, had a really unhealthy lifestyle when I was younger, my skin was still pretty nice, you know?
Yeah.
But I was young, you know, I was like in my 20s, and maybe it was just like a genetic thing. And as I got older, I stopped drinking, I stopped smoking, I got my shit together, and my skin was nice. You know, I mean, I eat a whole food plant-based diet. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. I drink green smoothies and green juice, and you know, I'm healthy. And so my skin was always a reflection of that. And in 2019, just last year, I was in Malaysia with my wife because her dad was dying of pancreatic cancer. And so we were there in the city, it's Kuala Lumpur, you know, huge, huge city. We were there for 3 months, and we live in Hawaii, and we're used to like a very calm, like life. And the capital of Malaysia, I mean, it's bustling, it's crazy, there's traffic. I mean, it's stressful. And plus, like, her dad was in the process of dying, and there was a lot of logistics, and we were staying at her brother's house, and I fell really, really sick. Like I felt so sick. It was as sick as I had ever been. I had to be admitted to the hospital. I had to stay there. They still to this day, they don't really know what was wrong with me.
Your poor wife, by the way, her dad is like in hospice, and now her wife is in the hospital.
Yes.
Like,
and my birthday is July 17th. Her birthday is July 18th. I went to the hospital on my birthday, the 17th. She had to take me. Then she had to take her dad to like an appointment at the hospital. And it was like, it was just like the perfect storm of shit. It was horrible. So after I got out of the hospital and I started to slowly get better, they gave me like high dose of antibiotics, and then they gave me a probiotic. And once I got out of the hospital, was taking those things, I started to break out. And I was like, it's probably from like all of the medication and just like the stress and everything. And so fast forward, we get home, and, you know, 2019 turns to 2020. Like my face is still broken out, and it just never goes away. And in fact, it keeps getting progressively worse. And I'm like, what is this? It's so weird. I was long off the medication. Nothing had changed in my, you know, with my diet or my lifestyle as soon as I got home. And so I ended up going to a dermatologist, and he ended up prescribing not steroid creams, but it was like topical antibiotics. And so I used that on my face for like less than a week, and it didn't help. It was getting worse. And I knew, like, I know I have a very, you know, like, I don't use chemicals. I don't put chemicals in my body. And so I knew, like, my gut was like, this is not the right thing, but I didn't know what else to do. And so I stopped using that, and I was like, I'm just going to start doing research. And that led me down a rabbit hole of like, well, I think that I have parasites. So I went to a naturopath and did like a parasite cleanse and had colonics, and that didn't really do anything. I did like, just like in your fabulous guide on your website, you know, I tried like yogurt on my face and apple cider vinegar and just everything. And it just kept getting worse. And it was really like, it looked terrible, but it was also just really uncomfortable. like it hurt and it itched and it was just always, always there. And like the mental bandwidth that takes up, it really is like it's hard because it's always there. And so one night, like I was serving dinner and I was like bringing my plate to the table and I had to itch my face, but I was holding this plate and it took everything in me not to just throw the plate across the room because I was like so done. I was like, fuck this. So I decided to take a month off from work and just focus on this and figure this out. And so I sent an email. I send a Saturday email every week and I just told the community what was happening. And one of our subscribers emailed back. A lot of people emailed back with a lot of suggestions on what I had. And I read them all, but there was this one woman, bless her, and she suggested your website and she posted to a resource about PD. And at that time I was like, wait, yeah, the dermatologist did say that I had perioral dermatitis. But as soon as that cream didn't work, I just sort of dismissed it. Mm-hmm. Because I kind of did a quick Google search. I didn't really see anything that was like a fix. And so I started going down the rabbit hole with like, okay, what else could this be?
Right.
And so as soon as I read your, like, I took like a day and just read everything on your site, looked over everything, looked at the products, and I ordered like that day. And I was so excited to get like my black clay soap and to get started with this. And just the whole time in my gut, I'm like, I don't know why, but I think that this is it. Like, I think this is going to work. And so I started exactly what you suggested and did the whole, like the 3-week kind of routine. And then within probably 3 days, I could tell that my skin was like, thank you. Mm-hmm. It was finally relaxing. And one thing that I was doing was like before I found you, I was using this really, high quality, whatever, like oil mm-hmm. for my skin. And it's a company that, I had used before, and it's a really, it's a good company, but it was just the wrong thing for my face.
That's it. Totally. And it's hard to convince people who, the thing that I always tell people is when I'm doing like trainings for our partners, like, Detox Market or whatever, I'll be talking to their staff and I'm like, you're going to hear a lot of different things from a lot of different brand founders. Listen to me. And that sounds cocky, but if you haven't had PD, then you don't know how to fix it. It's only because I had it for as long as I did that I did so much legwork about experimenting on my own face. And then when I figured it out, I was like, oh, this is what my skin wants. And, people will say like, I just use this oil serum or whatever, or it's just amazing how many people like are so committed to the oils. And I get it. They're so beautiful and they smell good and they feel good and they seem like they should do the trick. But and the other thing is you have to do, and it sounds like you have to do it right. You have to be patient. You have to change everything. You have to get rid of SLS in everything. Yes, your laundry detergent actually matters because where does your face sleep every night? Mm-hmm.
And that shit is in everything, even natural products.
Everywhere. It's in Tom's, it's in Seventh Generation. And it's not like a super, super evil ingredient. Inherently, it is biodegradable if it's plant sourced. There are decent ways to do SLS, but for people who have dermatitis, it's just a no-fly zone. And same with eczema. They're sort of cousins. And it's a skin irritant that keeps your skin in a state of mild distress to the point where it can't be its strong self.
Yeah. Yes. Well, there was another little bit to this because like, I want to say a month, I could tell like it didn't happen overnight, but just, I knew that this was working. I knew that this is what my skin wanted. I can see, I felt like it wasn't driving me crazy itching and just being so inflamed and so irritated. So I knew it was working. And I had done kind of like everything that you had suggested, except the gluten part. And I had always been so like, I don't want to go gluten free. Like I just had this thing about it, because
I get it.
like I eat a whole food plant-based diet, and I eat, if I eat bread, it's like organic sprouted bread, and
Right.
there's, whole grains that I like that have gluten. And I was like, could this really be like, I was like, I just don't want to do it. I was acting like a 5-year-old. And I finally was like, fuck it. Like, I'm just going to try it. Like everything else has worked. I'm just going to try it. And so I have to say, like, taking the gluten out of my diet, just like it tipped the scale. And it took the last bit, and I still have like a little bit, and I'm still like in a healing process, but doing that, I can say like it made enough of a difference for me to say, okay, I'm just not going to eat gluten anymore. And the funny thing is, it isn't actually all that hard. I think it was just like the idea of it for me, and I'm going to do a whole blog post on that. But that kind of took it to the next level. Mm-hmm. And it was like, that's what my skin wanted. And that's supporting it right now. And so I have to, the one thing that I really love about your website and your company is it's such a holistic sort of support, because it's not just about the products, but it's like, you really do incorporate lifestyle stuff, and because that's what it's about, right? It's not like it's not one thing, and there's no one magic bullet that's going to cure it. Mm-hmm. Like people are looking for when they go to the dermatologist,
Well, the dermatologist would give you a magic bullet, but you're going to pay for it later.
Yeah.
I mean, you can put a steroid on anything and it will go away. You can almost put steroids on anxiety. Seriously. Like it calms everything down. Mm-hmm. But when you take them away, it's like turning the volume to 11. It's bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah. So, and luckily I didn't go through that. And I know that a lot of people go through that, and it's so weird that the thing that they kind of prescribe for PD is also the thing that
causes it,
makes it worse, mm-hmm. and causes it. So there's a better way. And I've been kind of, this condition has cleared up now. I would say for the past like 2 months, it's been really, really good. But I was looking at photos this morning, and I want to share my screen with you because I want to show you 2 pictures of me. And
your skin looks great from what I can see.
Thank
here.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So can you see these 2 photos?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is at various stages, right? And it's so strange, mm-hmm. because it's like, it wasn't like the same. It was almost like from day to day, it was a little bit different. And from month mm-hmm. to month, it was a little bit different depending on sort of what I was doing. And I was trying a lot of things. And I will say like 2 things. One is, on Zoom, you can put the little, help clear up complexion filter. And I took that off because I didn't want to use that, because I wanted to show kind of like exactly what it looks like. And I'm not wearing any makeup, and I don't wear makeup. So
I lost mine. I actually looked for my makeup bag today, and I since quarantine, I'm like, I don't actually know where it is anymore. So, well,
it doesn't matter. It's
I barely wore any anyway. So
yes. Yes. So and the other thing that I started to notice that I got from your blog as well is like, okay, so you have this condition, like take a breath, just calm down. Like it's okay. Yeah. Stop obsessing and taking pictures of your skin all the time and trying a new thing every single day. And I was spending so much time just on this, and what your resources reminded me of is like, wait, like step back and take a breather, because that's going to make it worse. By obsessing.
I mean, it's like, it's a big deal what you're saying right now, because that perspective check, like you got to go, I have food, I have fresh water, and I have Instagram. Like things are not that bad.
Yeah.
Like I'm healthy. I am okay. And the other thing that happens is you start to take it personally. You start to be like, why are you doing this to me, face? Mm-hmm. Like you're mad at your skin. Your skin is just sending you information. That's all it's doing. It's saying, hey, something's out of balance with the way you're doing things, and I need you to like put some attention here. That's all it's doing. And it's not about you. It's not personal. it's just another data collection resource for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know?
And the day it was the first day that I took off in the month, my little month-long sabbatical, that our subscriber shared your information. And when I read that, I was like, this is perfect because I'm taking the next month off anyway, so I can just
Mm-hmm.
chill. And it really did. Like, I started to notice, I just started to pay attention rather than reacting. I just started observing a little bit. And
There you go. Yep.
once I started using your products, I could kind of like, okay, I'm just going to let that do its thing. And I know that I'm in good hands with that. So that allowed me just to kind of step back. And I noticed, like, a week, even now, like a week before I get my period, it kind of gets a little bit more irritated than usual.
Yep.
I started
Yep.
taking the evening primrose,
Mm-hmm.
and doing that and try to get, so it's frustrating because there's not, like I said, there's not one thing, but there is hope. And your work has, I mean, it made just all the difference for me. And I spent so much time researching it, and to find this was like, it was really game changing for me. And then now I'm just like, okay, what else can I get? So I of course have this beautiful necklace that you offer on your website, and I'm using I haven't used lotion anymore.
Ooh,
I'm using the
yay.
body oil, which
Awesome.
I really love. So I just
I
wanted
see a
to.
surfboard on your wall. Did you get Surfer Girl body oil? I should have sent you some of that.
Oh my gosh, that's next. I can't wait. I have this, and you guys recently had a sale, and I just bought everything. And I was like, I bought the night.
The night body oil is
yes,
really nice. Yeah.
Try that one.
Yeah.
But for people, so I just wanted to show, like, this is the thing that I use, this black clay soap. This was the soap, which I love. And I also bought the mud cleanser, and I'm using that like in the morning sometimes. And that's just really delicious and lovely.
Yeah.
I need to tell people, like, I'm not getting paid to do this. This is like such a promo for you guys, but I'm not, like, this has nothing, like, I'm wanting to do this. So
awesome.
This black clay soap, awesome. I love using it. And then the simple face cream is amazing. This lip doctor stuff, yes, love this.
I have one somewhere around here.
Oh man. And then once it started getting under control, I started adding in these nectar drops, which are really lovely. Can't say enough about this, and how this has just changed, my the whole game. And also being the face of our company, it was uncomfortable, and it was embarrassing, like having these really bad, and I never use makeup, but I was putting makeup on my skin when I had to go on camera, and I just felt like shitty about it. And because you wonder, like, nothing in my diet has changed, but yet if your skin is a reflection of what's going on, I know that people were thinking, wow, what's going on with her? Is she, what is she eating or drinking? Did she like fall off the wagon and start drinking again? And so I know that it was something that I really needed to figure out. And thanks to you, I was able to figure it out.
Well, it's thanks to you, really, right? And what I found is that when I developed that soap and I saw my own dermatitis start to recede, I would say that's what pushed me into making the leap from medicine to starting Osmia, because I was like, okay, because before I started the company, I had, the soap, and I would just pass it out to random people. I'd be like, hi, you have a condition called perioral dermatitis on your face. Just try this little bar of soap, and it was amazing, the feedback that I was getting. And so just as you're doing this unpaid, unsolicited promotion, you kind of, once you've been through it, the degree of compassion you feel for people who are going through it is so huge. And you're like, wait, I really can help. I can help. And that's why, like, I had to get over a lot of stuff about like self-promotion or like being on Instagram talking to the camera all the, like, it's not my nature. And people are always like, why should I buy your soap instead of her soap? And I'm like, her soap's probably awesome too. Do whatever feels good for you.
Right.
I don't like selling at all. But
Mm-hmm.
when I take a step back and I realize what I'm trying to do, my intention is to help, is to help you make choices that support your skin, because your skin wants to be healthy. Your whole body wants to be healthy. So, in everything I do, I think, like, how can I help? Because to me, that's the problem with Western medicine. And I'm not going to shit on Western medicine because I'm a doctor and I believe in a lot of Western medicine and I've needed it a few times in my life where I've been so grateful to have it. But, what it does essentially is with certain people and populations, it strips them of their power. And I want to hand that back and be like, no, 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 you get to keep the power. I'm here to help guide and help you make good choices and like give you the information that I have. Like I can go through 100 research studies and kind of distill it down and then put it into a blog post. That's a service I can offer. Like, cause I've done that. I'm trained to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm not really here to kind of like, I'm not here to tell you what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just here like offering a little plate. Like these are the things that I think could be helpful to you.
Yeah. And you can tell, I mean, when you go to your website and your Instagram, like, you can just tell, the people who are really here to like sell, you know, automatically, like you sense that, and
Right.
I can really relate to that because with the service that we offer, it's the same thing. And I never, I hate selling. I hate marketing. I hate, all of that stuff does not come natural to me. I never felt comfortable being on camera or like being the face, but I knew that like we had to put someone up there, and it definitely wasn't going to be my wife because she's not even plant-based. Like she'll eat anything. And she's like, she's like the nerd part of our operation and the little tech part. But it's like, and the same thing, there are whole food plant-based meal plans out there. And it's like, yeah, sure. I'm sure that they're really, really good as well. But it really is, it really is about being helpful and empowering people to take their power back and to say, oh, well, maybe I don't have to do this, or maybe there is a different way, or maybe I can do this differently. So I think it sounds like our companies are very in line in our values. And so it's no wonder that I felt this like connection to what you guys are doing and to you.
Totally. And I think the other piece is just you can reclaim your joy at the same time as you're reclaiming your power, right? And so choosing a plant-based diet, which I've done for the last 20 plus years, or, choosing skincare products that don't have certain ingredients in them. There might have been a time when that really felt like a sacrifice, but that time is in the past. It is no longer a sacrifice to choose a plant-based diet. There are so many amazing resources and creative like solutions to living a plant-based life. And the same with skincare. I mean, it used to be that it was like you can choose La Mer, or you can choose like this bar of soap wrapped in burlap and that smells like patchouli. Right. And that's like, that's not what it is anymore. It's totally its own, like very vibrant, very cutting edge, very effective set of products now. And they're so luxurious to use. In fact, I mean, I find that anyone who has made the switch, like for example, from synthetic scent to essential oils, like they can't go back, because once their senses are attuned to sort of the luxury of essential oils, then you go back to that cheap stuff and you're like, ugh, I can't even with that. I mean, it's terrible.
It's so true. I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, it's the same thing with food. I mean, once people get off from potato chips and candy bars and all that stuff, and they actually taste, the sweetness of a ripe peach or something, and then they go back to eating a candy bar, they're like, oh, I can't believe I used to like that. Like it just shifts your whole perception, and it's like, this is the stuff, like our body isn't meant to be bombarded with those, really overstimulating tastes and smells and chemicals. And once you kind of are able to get rid of that, but it's not just, I mean, there's just so many layers to that. And I know that it can be overwhelming for people once they start this, because they think like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
this shit's in everything. It's not just my food, but it's it's in my laundry soap, but in my dish soap, but in my
Right.
toothpaste.
Right.
But I think that you hit it. I mean, now there's so many more options out there. There's so much more information out there. So as long as
Mm-hmm.
people are engaged and open, to changing, man, the resources
Yeah.
are there.
The resources are there. And I think, the one word of caution I always give people is that you should be making your decisions from a place of joy, right? There's a lot of like tox mongering out there. Like, you know what I
Great
mean? Like,
point.
it's just
Yeah.
everyone's walking around like, oh my God, toxins, 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 toxins. Well, now you've created a state of stress for yourself,
Yeah.
right? And it's a permanent state of stress. If you're looking at I think you should look at the ingredients on the foods you're eating and on the things you're putting on your skin. I think you should. But if you're like in a hotel or whatever and you have to use a shitty bar soap, you're going to be fine.
Yep.
If you are on the road and you have to stop in and you go to Subway and you get one of their vegetarian subs, like, your body is designed to process toxins. It is designed to remove them for you. So it's a question of like scale, right? If you are bombarding, that's your word and it's a good word. If you're bombarding your system with things that are difficult for it to process or that require certain enzymes to process, that's like alcohol, for example. That's not good because then you overload the system. But having a glass of wine here and there is not bad for you. It's just not. Like having 3 glasses a night is bad for you.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's a question of figuring out how to like live from a place of joy and make decisions from a place of, I would call it informed joy. So like, I'm choosing this because I want to choose this for my body. And if occasionally I have to stray and use something else,
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, totally. And the other thing is like this whole thing is a process and it doesn't happen overnight. And the more you kind of go down this road, the more you learn and the more you can tweak and figure it out. And it's like, there's not that like this goal to arrive at, like all of a sudden we're there,
Right.
We're eating
Right.
perfect. Our household cleansers are on point. Like everything is just perfect. I mean, it's just not, so there better be joy in the process, because it's just that. So I think that's so right on. And it's the same thing. I tell people like, our meal plans is, we don't use oil in our meal plans, but if you go out to eat and there's oil in your food and you're, ordering like whatever you're ordering and there happens to be oil, who cares? Like the body can, like you said, the body can handle it. And it's that, and people get so tripped up in the, perfect, the all or nothing at all. And that
the all or nothing. Exactly.
That struggle is real.
It's so real. And it's challenging because if you're like a goal-oriented person, or if you're a type A person, like you like to check your boxes and you like to do it right and you like to do it well. And I totally get that. But if you think about like the state of the world, like the world doesn't need like more vegans as much as it needs more people who eat an 83% plant-based diet. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like that is a bigger impact. If we could get more people to shift to more plants, that's a bigger impact than the 42 vegans in the state of Colorado, when I know there are more than that. Right. So it's a question of like just, and being a little bit forgiving with yourself too. Like that whole, if you like once in a while, like I'm really good about like, living in a, thoughtful way as far as like my consumption patterns and like recycling and blah, blah, blah. And like, but like one day a year, if I need to just clean out my, my whole life, like cupboards and medicine cabinet, and there's like a really thick cream and I can't get the cream all the way out of the thing to get it to a point where I feel like it's recyclable. I'm like, okay, today it goes in the trash today. I am contributing to a landfill today. And, but so you got to find that balance where you like, do a really good job most of the time.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I love it. And, I love that message. And this has been awesome. And I know that people are going to love it, not just for the skin advice, but I think for the general, like, let's do the best we can and have that be good and just always kind of know that this is a journey and it's going to be okay.
It is going to be okay. And we're just here till tomorrow anyway. I mean, it's just a quick little visit to this planet. So, the number of things that we hold in our active stress out about zone is far too high most days.
Yeah.
Most of it just doesn't deserve to be there. So go downstairs and look your dog in the eyes until you see each other's souls, or really drop into making dinner and put on some Gregory Allen Issacoff and just be in that moment of the smells and the sounds and be here, because it really is, it's quick.
It is. And it's a great thing to have in your mind, because it does change the perspective and allows you to kind of brush off all that shit that really doesn't matter. Because there's a lot of stuff we deal with that just really at the end of the day doesn't matter. And it just makes life this hamster wheel. Right. So let's get off the wheel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Awesome.
Well, I so appreciate you sharing your experience with Osmi. I mean, it is really affirming for me to know that this decision that I made to leap out of medicine is, from all the feedback that I get from people like you, I feel gosh, I have been able to have a bigger impact in more people's lives since I left the ER than I ever did when I was there. And so I'm grateful to you for sharing that experience. And it makes me feel okay, I'm doing something good. And that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Your work is just amazing. And I have to say, I won't, I'm not going to use any other products. I found my thing, and I just, and it's the first time I've ever really said that. And I'm 40, I turned 40 this year, and I feel okay, I found my thing, and I'm good with that now. And so it's, it's not
okay if you cheat on us, by the way. I'm
not going to. Fuck that. Okay. I know what happens when I don't use your stuff, and I don't want that. There's no way.
Yeah.
No, I'm in it. I am in this.
Awesome.
But yeah, I thank you for taking the time and for getting on here and having this chat with me. It is going to add a lot of value and be very helpful for people. And just also, I want to just give a shout out to your whole team. I had a couple of questions, amazing. And I just kind of emailed in, and they were so delightful and helpful and just wonderful. And it's such a nice thing to experience, because you don't find that often, that human connection from somebody who's selling something that feels I have your back. And even if you don't buy this, here's some tips or something. It's so refreshing to see that.
Yeah, it really is a core value for us. The point of what we do is to help make people's days better. Right. And so we try to put that energy into everything, from the handwritten note that comes with every package, to the tone of any response from our customer service team, to the branding, really we are sort of obsessed with every detail in that way, because there are a lot of companies out there doing it poorly. And we didn't need to be one of those. So, I do want people to feel the intention behind every bar of soap they unwrap. And I want them to carry that forward into their days.
Yeah. Well, you guys, it definitely shows. So well done. Yeah. Yep.
Thank you.
I love it. Okay. Well, thank you, Sarah.
Thank you for your time. Yeah, that was really a nice chat. And I look forward to stalking your Instagram a little more deeply than I had time to do before today.
Fabulous. And I will send this out when we post it. I'll send you the link.
Please do.
Okay.
Awesome.
Bye.
Bye. Have a great day.
You too.